Alright, so, welcome to my video on racism at a drama school in London. Because, why should we just focus on one country? Anyway, so it's been revealed that Guildhall racism report found students at drama school attended by Michaela Cole were called N-word and suppressed by white teachers. So right off the bat, it sounds like a lovely place to be if you're a person of color, specifically black. But anyway, let's get to the article. The Guildhall School of Music and Drama, a top London drama school, had a racist culture in which multiple black students were called the N-word and were suppressed by white tutors, according to an external investigation. Guildhall, which counts Daniel Craig, Ewan McGregor, and Michaela Cole among its alumni, commissioned an independent review into discrimination experienced by students on its prestigious acting course following the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020. A document was prepared for the school in 2021, and Deadline is reporting on its contents for the first time as part of our Drama Schools Uncovered series. All right. The 26-page report compiled by Freshwater's Consultancy found that graduates were consistent and explicit in their accounts of experiencing or witnessing racism, including various incidents in which the N-word was allegedly used during teaching exercises. I'm sorry, what century are we in? What year? Salmon's evidence, based on interviews with more than 30 alumni and Guildhall staff members, supports accounts given by Cole and Papa Esidu, the May I Destroy You stars, who claimed that they were called the N-word by a teacher during their time studying at the school. God, I hope I got that second name right. In a statement to Deadline, Guildhall said it had apologized to all alumni affected by the findings. The school added that Freshwater's consultancy recommendations had been implemented, including anti-racism training and the launch of a more diverse curriculum. Okay, now I don't know how these students were suppressed, but I'm sorry, you have to be taught not to say the N-word. I realize that this really is something that started in the U.S. with us using the N-word, but come on. They're not that far behind. What is going on? The report, written by academic Maureen Salmon, found evidence that black students experienced the worst forms of racism at Guildhall, but teachers also made anti-Semitic comments and were derogatory towards Asian students. Well, at least they were an equal opportunity racist. What the hell? Guildhall's culture was described by alumni as unwelcoming, and teaching practices were deemed to be hostile. The report said black students' identities and personalities were suppressed rather than celebrated as part of learning processes. I would still love to know, how were they suppressed? Were they forced to, not have black hair? I mean, I do not understand what that means. Were they not allowed to wear their hair the way was ethnically appropriate, or that they had to have hair that was like white people? They weren't able to, I don't know, wear particular clothing. How were they suppressed exactly? I would love to know. Incidents of personal racism were alleged to have been perpetrated by a small number of named individuals who had been in leadership positions within the acting program for many years. Their behaviors appeared to have been enabled and empowered through structural racism in school systems, the report said. In this environment, white students refused to work with black peers. Oh, Lord. In one incident described in the report, a white student allegedly spat in the face of a black classmate during an acting exercise, and the tutor deemed that it was dramatically justified, even though the black student disagreed. Oh, wow. In other findings, Freshwater's consultancy said there was unconscious bias in casting decisions and that pastoral care for students fell short of professional standards. It said black alumni lacked trust in Guildhall's people, culture, and systems. Which makes me wonder, was there no other school that you could go to? I know Guildhall is a very prestigious school, but I doubt it's the only one. But then again, Ewan McGregor is Scottish and he went to a school in London, so maybe it is the only one in the UK. I just can't believe that, though. Freshwater's consultancy said the findings were disturbing and pointed to significant past failings and weaknesses in the leadership, governance, culture, policies, and practices. In Guildhall's acting course, which had a harmful impact on students between 1974 and 2020. Because apparently we're way behind the times. I could understand the 70s because that was shortly after the civil rights movement in the US. And my understanding is that the civil rights movement wasn't a thing in the UK. But damn, what the hell? 2020? Then again, we're having an upsurge in ridiculous forms of racism too, so I guess it checks out. Deadline's Drama Schools Uncovered investigation has found that racism existed at Guildhall as recently as last year. The drama school upheld 2 complaints of discrimination after Freshwater's consultancy delivered its report, according to figures released under the Freedom of Information Act. Guildhall said, as part of a sustained program of action to address and dismantle long-standing systemic racism within the acting program, Guildhall School appointed Maureen Salmon of Freshwater's consultancy in September 2020 to receive accounts and expressions of racism from acting alumni in order to produce an independent and anonymized report. The report was written with and for our acting alumni, summarizing the culture of the acting program over recent years and making a series of recommendations. In April 2021, the report was sent to all our acting alumni, accompanied by a response and unreserved apology from the vice principal and director of drama and the principal. The recommendations of this report for the drama department have since been implemented, and in addition, its school-wide recommendations have been fed into the work of Guildhall School's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee. Guildhall said it was in constant dialogue with students about their experiences, and the acting course is updated accordingly. It added that staff are involved in reflective sessions twice a month in which they consider anti-racism and other training in an effort to improve personal responsibility and accountability. An acting advisory group also gives critical feedback and advice on anti-racist practices. The school added, "We understand that this work is long-term and requires sustained commitment to build a culture that is inclusive and equitable." Let's see here. Now, first off, I'm glad that the school is taking action. But, okay, like I said, maybe in the 70s because, the civil rights movement was particular to the US. So maybe they didn't initially get the memo about, don't use the N word. But we're in a global economy now, especially now with social media. Granted, that's, not been that long, but we're in a global economy. We have, planes. It's easy to get from point A to point B. At what England, the UK, gets entertainment from the US, we get entertainment from the UK. At what point did you figure out that? How did you not figure out that using the N word was a bad thing? I mean, I understand that maybe there were some, they didn't go into detail about how their identities were suppressed. Like I said, maybe it was the hairstyles, maybe it was the clothing, maybe it was the grammar. But at no point did they tell us. But at the very least, you should know, in this day and age, you should know that the N word is not a word to use. And if a white person says, well, black people say it amongst themselves, yeah. Just like women can call each other bitch. That is something we can do, men cannot do to us. Because, in-group thing. Same thing with the N-word. If they want to use it amongst themselves, fine. I have a black friend who along with her white friend, the white friend will call her the N-word. She'll call her, I think, a honky. I'm pretty sure it's honky. But that is something that they do amongst themselves, so it's fine. So in certain circumstances, sure. But, or to listen to rap lyrics and hear the N-word. It's one thing to hear it in that context. Under no circumstances outside of those contexts should you be using the N-word. If you do not know this person and you do not know if they feel how they feel about the N-word, don't freaking use it. I can't believe that we're in 2023 and people are still unclear on that concept. That should be the absolute barest minimum of being anti-racist, is to not use the N-word. I mean, I assume that these leaders aren't that old. I mean, if you grew up and you only heard that word, I guess I could understand it, but is that a thing in the UK where there are pockets of communities that will throw around the N-word like it's nothing, and because racism is just such a part of that community that it never occurs to them that, maybe not say that? I don't know. I honestly don't know how this works. But, and like I said, in the 70s, okay, we were still having that issue in the US, and we're the ones that had the civil rights movement. Like I said, I'm not familiar with a civil rights movement anywhere else. So, and people were still using that word because people are assholes. But at what point can you no longer say, oh, well, I didn't know that was racist? At what point can you say that? Seriously. Especially because you have television. You have the internet. You have people going to the neighboring town or the neighboring state. At what point can we say that you should know better? Because, I'm sorry, these alumni they were mentioned, like Michaela Cole, she's not that old. It's not like we're talking about things that happened so far away, so long ago that, you know, people just didn't realize that that was racist. No, this was at a time when this was already considered racist. So I do not understand how people could, you know, do that. Now, suppressing identities. Like I said, I don't know what exactly was suppressed because there are certain grammar and certain styles of dress that's, depending on where you come from, would be considered sloppy. So that could be just a dialect issue or just a cultural sensitivity issue. But uh just that, just using the N word, just, I, even recently, what? I, like I said, I would love to know how these their identities were being suppressed. Not that I'm justifying that that's okay, but I would really love to know what they were doing, because it's really hard to criticize someone for doing something if you are just guessing. And like I said, the only things I can guess are patterns of speech, patterns of dress, and hairstyles. And if you've lived under a rock, because at this point that is what you would have to do to live under a rock, I just do not see how you could criticize these things. The only, I mean, granted, I will criticize English with other Americans. It's like, if you're a non-native speaker, I will allow for the horrible, which is funny because most non-native speakers speak better English than certain American born people. And yeah, I'm, depending on how bad the grammar is, to the point that you have, it's like, sorry, I have absolutely no idea what you're saying. And if it keeps up, then maybe belittle them for it. But if you can't understand them, so then I could understand it. But generally, if they're a competent English speaker, you don't have that problem. Generally. So I'm going to say that they were either sticklers for grammar, sticklers for dress, or sticklers for hairstyles. Because even in England, if you listen to the different dialects, you're going to hear a lot of different dialects. So to hear a slightly different one should not bother you. Like I said, all you have to do is turn on the TV to know that the way black people's hair grows out and the styles that they go by are not what white people's hairstyles are like. You really don't have to even if you live in a lily white community, you can figure this out. But this is London. How long do you have to live in London before you figure out that not everybody looks and acts and sounds like you? This is supposed to be a multicultural city. I do not understand how this is not only pervasive, but that's been happening for so long and still happening. I could understand one or two because, you're always going to have assholes in anything. but pervasive? What the hell is going on in that school? And I did mention earlier, that they should have gone to another school. How is this the only school? And I'm not suggesting that that should be the solution. Oh, just go to another school. I'm just sad that they didn't have that option, because I'm sure that if they could have gone to a more accepting school, then this would become less prestigious, because people are going to know that these are racist fucks and stay away. And then, the free market would do its magic and bye-bye school. That's why I have a problem with that. But no, they shouldn't have to be forced to go to another school just because they're surrounded by asshats. But I think I've rambled enough. This just, I just do not know. Anyway, with that, I will see you in the next video.